What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Grow Podcast by Farmers Cooperative. I'm your host, Nolan Fast, and today I'm sitting down with Ryan Norris, who's a grain originator with Farmers Cooperative, and Ernie Hroch. You are the South Region Operations Manager.
Yes.
Yes. So today we're going to talk a little bit about grain marketing and a little bit about operations and kind of how they intertwine. So we'll start a little bit with Ryan. Mm-hmm. You're a grain originator.
Yep.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, the short answer to that is I buy grain. You originate grain. Our goal is to make farmers aware of our programs and to get grain into the facility, be it Frankfurt shuttle or Hanover or truck houses or whatever, to capture bushels of grain for Farmers Co-op. The long answer, though, is more of it's kind of a PR/broker/ sales marketing guy. There's a lot of different things you do.
There's licensing that goes along with that, isn't there?
Not to be just a grain originator, no, but
okay.
I do have my broker's license.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a licensed broker, and so I can.
So
trade
what exactly? So that you can trade on the Chicago Board of Trade.
Yes.
With that,
yes.
Correct.
What that means is like if we have producers that want to set up individual accounts to hedge. Hedge their crops on the Chicago Board of Trade. We can do that. I can do that. They can also do puts and calls. We can we'll get into that stuff a little bit later. But myself, Roy Joseph, and Tyson Secretera are all licensed brokers with ATI.
Where are they within the within our territory? Where are those guys at?
Roy's up in Dorchester at the Dorchester headquarters.
Okay.
And Tyson is in Beatrice, and then I'm in Frankfurt, kind of. I mean,
South Park.
Yeah, I'm south of Highway 8. I technically office out of Beatrice, but I spend 3 days a week in Frankfurt.
Okay.
Sometimes more, and then sometimes those 3 days a week actually turn into 1 day in Frankfurt and 2 days in Hanover, or 1 day in Herkimer, or whatever.
Just all over the place.
Yeah.
So since you're all over the place, if somebody wants to reach you, where can they find your contact?
My cell phone. It's actually, my cell phone is listed on our website and like our grain brochures. When you look up grain department on the website, my number on my contact is actually my cell phone.
Okay, so they can find you no matter what you're doing.
Pretty much, yeah. And people can call that anytime. If it's after hours, if I'm busy, leave a message. I'll call you back.
Okay. So, and you were talking about, talked a little bit about the puts and the calls. Those are options for people to basically get rid of their grain. Dive into a little bit more. What are those options that people have?
It's interesting that you say that like that. I say that I use tools because those are actually options. They technically are called options. So when you start talking about grain marketing, you say, well, I've got options for you to use, and these are the options you can use to, and you get where I'm going with this.
Yes.
It's options to have options. And so for me, I like to, I know it sounds silly, and it's just being maybe a little, I don't know what the word is. I do, but I'm not going to say it.
OCD, there we go.
Good choice.
Being a little bit OCD about it, I know it's just semantics, but when you're talking with people who are new to it, you're like, well, we've got some options to go over for marketing your grain, and here's some options. Yep. You see where I'm going with that.
Yep.
So, as far as tools to help farmers market grain, the one that we see the most used is the puts and the calls, the put options and the call options. And part of that is because Farmers Cooperative has a really cool program, I think, that we work with Advanced Trading. And you can use puts and calls through the Farmers Co-op without setting up an individual account. And we bill you straight through your Farmers Co-op account, and there's no extra cost. The service fee that's involved with it is 2 cents a bushel to buy them, and it's the exact same service fee that ATI charges us or would charge you if you had an individual account.
Okay.
So we just try to make it easy for the farmer to market his grain, easier.
Yeah.
There's nothing too easy about it, quite honestly.
But that's why we have you, right?
I guess, yeah.
So
yes.
What's the difference between? Because I personally know nothing about grain marketing, and we have a lot of listeners that are on the younger side of things. What is the difference between like some of those options,
Well,
or tools?
Tools, yeah. It's interesting. I could probably spend almost the entire time talking about how they work, and and to some people they would love that, and some people would be asleep, and they're already changing to something else. Some of the more simple things we have it's as simple as forward contracts. You can sell your grain, which pretty much everybody listening to this right now is probably rolling their eyes and going, "Oh my God, he's not going to talk about forward contracts for 5 minutes." No, I'm not. You're lucky. But we can do basis contracts, which lock in the basis at a location so that you can set futures price later, which is like right now is probably a really popular option because I think we've got a very aggressive basis at several locations. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yep.
So, Ernie, when Ryan's out there buying all this grain, you're kind of in charge of keeping the place running to make sure that we can keep receiving it efficiently, effectively. What are some of the things that we're doing to make sure that all keeps running smoothly?
First of all, we place good quality employees in place, and we have that in house, and train those individuals, and we structurally put together a form how who's going to be at the location at the time of when the train shows up, and a train can roll in any time. We have 15 hours to load that train, and we've got a train loading bonus to keep the guys coming back, and we practice our safe.
Keep them safe.
You're damn right. Yep, we got a program there, iSolve, it's in there, and then our location managers daily talk about safety and their fall protection and keeping things clean and updated, and that's.
And all that, make sure that the trucks go in and out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Speed and space.
Absolutely.
So, what are Alan's kind of been talking about in annual meetings and stuff? What are some of the investments that we're making this year at some of our locations?
The investments we're doing this year, the projects we got going on is our dry shed, and that's located at Frankfort Agronomy.
Okay.
And it's a 5,000-ton shed. We're just finalizing the rail reclaim pit to unload off the rail. And we built this shed to expand to double it, to go another 5,000 ton. And we probably got enough room yet to go another time again. So that there's in place. We have a project, the piling just getting done today at Frankfort Grain at the shuttle. And
Okay.
it'll be a 880,000 bushel bin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then the other one, the piling is going to get done probably this week yet in Jansen, and that'll be a 680,000 bushel bin. And the other one that we're waiting on the piling crew to get there is at Hanover, and that'll be the biggest one. That'll be 1 million bushel. And then that's the big projects we got going on now. There's some rolling assets that's coming on board, sprayers, pickups. Other than that, Nolan, that's.
So, can you talk a little bit about some of the decision making that goes into how we decide where we're gonna? Because we invest generally close to the same amount every year. What's the decision making process that the board goes through, and like how does that go from need to idea to construction crew?
Those areas I'm getting into a little bit more. No doubt that Frankfort, that's a greenfield facility, so we do some studies, kind of see what's available, see what's around for competition, see the production, and run off a little bit of history what that facility's been doing, how much grain's going on the ground, and those are some of the factors there, which then, if we can financially put it together. And yeah, over the last 5 years, there's $125 million that went back into the community. So it's approximately about 27 million a year that's reinvested. Yeah.
So each episode, I get the guest or guests to tell us a fun story, an embarrassing story, and that's not gonna change today. So I need both of you to tell me something embarrassing that you did or that happened to you at some point in your life, either on a farm, at the co-op. I know you got a story. I can see it in your eyes. Who wants to go
You wanna go
first?
first?
I derailed the train once. I didn't, but I was involved with it.
Whoa, okay, well, you're gonna have to tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a really long story. I worked at about 10 years ago. I worked with Farmers Co-op over in Plymouth, and it's the same company. It was just at the Plymouth location.
All right.
And through a lot of different turns of events, I went from being the grain originator to the Plymouth branch manager for a while. And it ended well. I mean, I just went back to a different industry, and then I came back here to Farmers Co-op about a year ago. But we were loading a train during harvest, and we had a little mishap, and we had about 4 cars get knocked off, and
Like completely on their side?
oh yeah, like off to the side, and it was about 8 o'clock at night, and so nobody got hurt. I mean, first things first, nobody got hurt, and that was, obviously that was when Ron
All
Velder,
the safety protocols.
yeah. I mean, and Ron Velder was the CEO at the time, and I'm a rookie. I'm a greenhorn, man. I'm like, oh snap, which is not what I said, but what do we do here?
Family friendly show.
Yeah, exactly. And so I called Dale and called Ron on their cell phones, and this is, and nobody answered. It was 8 o'clock, and I didn't call back. I wasn't about to leave a voice message. Yeah, this is Ryan. We knocked a train over. I wasn't going to do that. So I Googled the company, and I found them, and I called them. They're like, oh yeah, we know you guys. We've worked with you before. So I told them to come out the next morning, and I said, yeah, be there the next morning. I mean, I was totally sticking my neck out. I'm thinking this is going to be the last decision I make as a Farmers Co-op employee.
But it all turned out well.
The first thing, and this is, I know, but the first thing Velder said to me is, did anybody get hurt? He says, nope. He says, everybody's okay. And I said, yeah, everybody's fine. And he said, stuff happens. I guess you're getting it fixed. Let me know when it's done.
Yeah,
So,
that
I mean,
can happen fast, can't it?
Well, and obviously it was a complete accident, and it was. The guys
It's
fixed.
not like you purposefully knocked
Yeah,
it.
and they were empty. Thank God they were empty. It would have been a huge mess. But a more relevant, actual funny story is here about 6 months ago. I was pulling a grain vac to work, and I had plenty of gas. 2 miles out of town.
Famous last words.
2 miles out of town here. The boss man gets a call. Hey, Ernie, what you doing?
Wasn't I in Kansas the day that happened?
Yeah, actually, you were. You came in. You came in later that day because I was kind of, and it was cool. I'm gonna probably embarrass Ernie here a little bit, but it was really cool because I got back and I figured, man, everybody. I'm like, yeah, sorry I was late. I had a little car trouble. And they're like, yeah. And Ernie didn't tell anybody.
No,
didn't tell a soul.
because I was meeting with you.
And now I'm telling everybody.
Yeah, now you're telling, I didn't tell a soul.
Yeah, because I was meeting with you, and you said you had to run. They were like, oh, he had to go run and do something, and then
Yeah.
you left.
Yep.
Yeah, and I came back and he's like, well, what? Did he just come get you? And I'm like, he didn't tell you? And
No.
He's like, oh. I'm like, well, I ran out
You
of
didn't say a
gas.
word.
Yeah.
There's a few moments I can just kind of keep things, kind of secret. I mean,
Well, I just thought that was cool because I didn't walk back into everybody going, but yeah, I ran literally 2 miles north of town.
yeah, not much more than that, no.
So Ernie, what do you got? Can you top knocking over an entire train?
We've
It was
done
like
that
4 cars.
Yeah. we've done some of those in Hanover, barrel rolled some completely. 3 of them done a complete 360 on us, but I guess I got to go right back to my first day at Farmers Co-op. Had to go find a job. Went and found a job at Barnston at that time, and they hired me right there when I walked in the door. Stayed there till 6. Did the job. Went home. Dad goes, "Where have you been?" I said, "Well, you went and found a job." "Where'd you find a job?" "At the Barnston Co-op." He goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." He looked at me again and he goes, "They hired you?" So that's kind of embarrassing. Like, he couldn't believe they hired me, and I felt pretty good. I found a job, so he did say, "Good job, you found a job."
Well, now you're a regional manager, so
Yeah, it's been a great, it's been a good 38 years. I can't complain. It's been some challenging times, like Ryan. Yeah, there's derail a car, get a sprayer stuck. There's just numerous things that happen, but it's all about the people, working with the people. Patrons and the employees.
well, good. So, I guess we'll get back into it. So, Ryan, somebody just starting their own operation so somebody getting started with their own operation. What are maybe some resources that they have for if they want to know more, they have all this grain, trying to figure out the best thing to do with it. Is it call you and ask you, or hop on Google? Where can they get some information?
You know, the dangerous thing about Google and everybody, you know, there's tons of information out there, and a lot of it's very right and very true. The problem is if you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So if you get onto bad information, you don't know it's bad.
It's wrong.
You don't know it's bad information. Call somebody you trust. Work with somebody you trust to start with, and if that's us, which hopefully it is, and if it's not, that's part of my job is to build that relationship. But you know, other farmers are good people to talk to about, and not necessarily about, hey, what are you doing, but who do you talk to? Who do you market with? You know, the best advice, and the thing is not to be very general, but you have to be a little bit, because quite frankly, there's some compliance reasons that we can't get into very specific scenarios in a situation like this. When you become a licensed broker, there's a set of rules you have to follow, and the set of rules is like this set of rules, but that thick, not that long. And but you know, the best thing is to do nothing is the worst plan. Do something. You know, talk to somebody. I do think that our farmers co-op team, our grain team, I think you've got a lot of really good resources there personally. And guess what? They're your team. They're the farmers co-op team. It doesn't cost anything to talk to us. And you could say, well, I guess it's worth what you paid for it. I don't know, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of services out there that when you sit down and you want to have a conversation with them, they'll have that initial conversation, but after that, they want you to commit so many acres, and then I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars per acres or X amount of cents per bushel to help you market your product. And we don't do that. You know, I guess that's a shameless plug there, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, if it's right, it's right.
But yeah.
So, is there anything that they should be paying attention to? Like, I know every morning I read your and Roy's comments, the market comments. So is there something, either can they maybe get a part of that email chain? Is there certain things that they should be paying attention to in the news? Do you have any? I know with the compliance, you got to be. You know,
no, you can. That's the things that realistically, and obviously they know this, and we know this, and it's cliche to say, but it's true. The world is a global market now. There's no such thing as, well, this is what the U.S. is doing. I mean, 25 years ago, I don't think anybody worried what Brazil was doing with corn and beans, and now that's all we're going to talk about for the next 3 months. So. And I guess there's your first answer. What is the global market? What is Russia doing with wheat, and what is South America doing with corn and soybeans? And then obviously recently the trade war with China.
Yeah.
There's been more rallies and more down days based on rumor and headlines than you can shake a stick at. You know? Well, China did this and Trump said that and this or whatever. Those are the things, and then obviously the USDA reports.
Yeah.
This last year, there's a lot of producer disagreement with what the USDA reports have been. I'm not saying they're right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not going to take a side on that. But what I will say is that's the information that the traders trade on. So pay attention to that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the guys that are buying and selling the funds that are making the big moves in the market, they're paying attention to those crop reports. So whether you agree with them or not, they have an impact on what the market is going to do.
Okay. So, Ernie, is there? So for a takeaway for the listener, for what we're doing, I'm saying this all wrong. Ernie, if people take anything away from this podcast as far as operations and how we're managing locations and employees, is there any, if you wanted them to take away this bullet point about what we're doing, does anything come to mind?
Absolutely. One of the things you really got to look at Farmers Co-op is what we do and what we're doing. And what we're doing is investing a lot of our profits right back into our communities. And it's very obvious. You can go to almost every one of them and recognize that and see that, and that is a big ticket for down the road to build facilities to allow Ryan to get out there and originate the grain and full of good information. A lot of our locations have a one-stop deal. I mean, all the way from precision egg to feed specialist and if they're not there, it's just a phone call away. And that's the thing I'd really take away is just look what is putting back into our communities to support our communities.
So I at the annual meeting, there was a speaker and he made some really good points about investing back into the community, so what co-ops are doing with investing in the community and building these long-term things. So what you just said, I think, speaks a lot to that we're here to stay.
Yes.
That these investments, whether things are going good or bad, we are here.
Right, and that's where we're a very strong company, and we're able to flow with those bad times and the good times, and it's just very important to understand that. It's as we grow into different times, we have maybe some specialty crops down the road. Who knows what's coming on? We just got to be prepared to handle the needs.
I know this isn't my platform, but just something to consider. Look at Frankfurt. How many people live in Frankfurt? 300 people? 500 people?
Approximately, yeah.
And we spent between the agronomy and grain, $50 million there in the last 5 years?
50 million plus, yeah.
In a town of 300.
Yeah. Now, if that isn't awesome, I don't know what it is.
I don't know anybody else that's going to make that kind of investment.
And it's not just Frankfurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
when we did our open house to open the shuttle, the comment was, "Where are you going to find all the grain to support this?" And that was approximately 3.5 years ago, and we've already outgrown.
I was going to say, haven't we?
We've outgrown it. Up. That's why we're building another bin bigger than we have there to support that demand. So, well put, Ryan. That is, it's
actually. On that, I know the first week that I started this job, Dennis was driving me down to Kansas, and he wanted to show me Marietta, and he said, I asked, so where is Marietta? We turned off of a highway down a gravel road, and this is it. And it's along that same line of we have all this, the grain storage, all this, all this stuff here that nobody else would even consider spending the money in that location, but we did. And there was a couple houses and nothing there.
There's 3 houses and 15 co-op buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and there's some nice, and that's just not that community. It's a lot of communities that, why would we build there? Well, there's that need.
There's a reason.
There's a reason. Big need.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Ryan and Ernie, for coming in. We really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank everybody out there for listening. Wherever you're listening, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our next episode. They drop every 2 weeks on Fridays, and they're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. As always, I'm Nolan Fast, the host of the Grow Podcast, and everybody here at Farmers Cooperative would like to encourage you to keep growing.